Hey guys, what's up? I'm putting together this video for anyone who wants to set up a NAS on their home network, but wants to do it with as little stress as possible. I wasn't able to find a video like this online, which was somebody just trying to get a NAS set up with the minimum kind of requirements to do what they wanted, without going into like the super technical stuff. Frankly, I don't have that much time to spend on it, so I wanted to do it as quick as possible, but I also didn't want to mess stuff up. So I'm putting together like a series of these videos of me just kind of going through it, and hopefully it helps somebody else who's in a similar situation to me, who just wants the functional part of an NAS and not to go super deep into it because either they don't want to, or they don't really know what they're doing like me. So they're trying to keep it as non-hardcore as possible. So that's what this kind of bunch of videos is going to be about. It's going to be super janky because I'm assembling it as fast as possible with as little production value as possible, or as little as I can do to keep building a video quickly. So it's going to be a little bit all janky, but I'll try and keep it super clear and easy to follow. And then let me tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to do with the video. So rather with a NAS. So my main issue was this. This is my bag of hard drives. I literally have 6 hard drives here, and I have one more right over there. And these are all labeled. This one's a backup of like all my stuff, includes like work stuff, photos, a bunch of videos and movies. This one's 2 terabytes. And then I have a copy of this one as well. That's the backup. So anytime I want to move a file, like add a movie to that drive, or copy some files, I have to plug 2 drives in, drag files into both places, make sure everything's named correctly, and always keep those in order. I've tried to use software to do this, and it just ends up being more complicated than not. And frankly, I don't really trust the software to not like delete files and like not keep things synced. I've had problems with it in the past. And so I'm at like capacity of these drives, and now the next step is like, do I buy more hard drives and then do that all over again, and now have like 4 hard drives to manage at all times, plus whatever other drives I've got going on in here for different things? Or do I just buy this NAS that I can like expand more capacity into and just have like one single lump of space? And obviously the NAS is a better idea. The other thing I want to be able to have is like all my photos in one place. I want to aggregate all my family photos in one place. So part of this is going to be managing my photo library and making it shareable to everybody. So that'll be in another part of this little series. So with that said, I'm going to jump in and probably cut in another video of me unboxing the NAS a little bit earlier. I'm not going to worry too much about time on these videos. I'm just going to kind of let them roll, because for me, I didn't mind watching long videos to learn the right way to do this. So some of these sections might be long. Feel free to skip ahead in them if you want, but I'll try and include all the information that I've been taking in, so that you can go in with a little bit more idea of what you're getting into. So I'll leave it there and cut to some other stuff. Hope this is helpful. So here is the one that I picked up. It's the Synology Disk Station 418J. It's actually a pretty low-end version of their NASes. It cost me like, I think, $360 Canadian. It's a bunch of years old. It's not super fast. I'm not using this thing for any kind of media center or streaming. I just need it for storage and then backing up to the cloud and then accessing some stuff from a phone or a computer remotely. So I didn't need a fancy one. So I picked this one up mainly just because it had 4 drives and it was pretty inexpensive. Okay, quick interlude. I just wanted to explain why I chose the 4 drive over the 2 drive. So let's jump into Procreate here. So there's you basically have 2 options. So you have like a 2 drive NAS, which is much cheaper. I think I'm just going to go super rough, but like I think it's around $250 for like the level that I'm looking at. And then you have the 4 drive NAS, which is the one I picked up. I was originally thinking about the 2 drive one, just based on the price, and this one's like $360. But then you have to think about the drives and how many you want to buy. So this was kind of my logic in it, and basically it was just like I wanted to save money in the long term. So if I have a 2-drive NAS, the if you use the Synology, which is the brand that I picked, just based on the user interface, I liked it better, and it seemed to have a lot of apps and support. But if you use the Synology RAID system, which basically you don't need to know anything about except that you don't have to even choose it; it's just automatically chosen, and it does a really good job managing space and gives you a little bit of extra hard drive space over other RAID options. I'm already going into more detail than I should, but the point is, the thing you need to just the calculation to do is that your total space is equal to your the number of drives minus 1 times the largest drive size. Or sorry, not the largest, the opposite. The smallest drive size. So if you're looking at a 250 or this double one, so let's say if I have like a 2 terabyte and I have a 4 terabyte, the calculation is like we have 2 drives, and then minus 1, so that equals 1, times the smallest is 2 terabytes, so you have a total of 2 terabytes of space, right? That's what you would get. Now, if 2 terabytes is a pretty small drive, but let's say you had 2 4 terabytes, which is what I actually have right now. So if that's a 4, so then you go 2 drives minus 1 times 4 terabytes. So you get a total of 4 terabytes of space. Now that's fine, that's good. 4 terabytes is kind of what I wanted. The problem is, if now I want to go to 6 terabytes, let's say I add like 1 6 terabyte drive, I'm still at 2 minus 1 times the smallest size, which is still 4. So I still have 4. So even if I change this to 6, I'm still at 4, which is not great. That's the biggest problem with the 250 drive. So if you want to go, more storage, you have to change 2 drives. And that can be expensive. 6 terabyte drives are like 200 something bucks. So you'd have to spend over $400. This is all Canadian dollars to get there. Now, let's look at the 4 drive. So the 4 drive, the calculation is the same. So you have, let's use the same kind of 4 terabyte thing we had here. So if I have 4 and 4, so we have number of drives. So let's say I'm only filling in 2, because I only did fill in 2. So we have 2 drives minus the 1 times 4 terabytes. So I have the same amount as I did over here, right? However, now let's say I want to go more storage. If I add, this guy, keeping these guys the same. So now if I add another drive, let's say I add another 4 terabyte drive. So now I have 3 drives minus the 1, so that's 2, times the smallest size, which is 4 terabytes. That would give me 8 terabytes total. So just by adding one more drive, I've expanded my size quite a bit. And that's the main benefit of having the 4. Every time you, hold on a sec, I'm boiling some eggs. So every time you increase the number of drives, you're actually increasing the number of the amount of space. Now, of course, that changes when you fill up your 4th, and now you can't change this number anymore. But you can go pretty high and get quite a bit of storage just by adding one more drive without having to replace the original 2 that you had. Whereas over on this side, you have to constantly replace both drives to be the same size, because it's only looking at your smallest drive size. So for a little bit of extra cash, you can save quite a bit in the long run by just being able to expand your storage with individual drives rather than having to replace both drives here. So that's a little bit about how to decide between a 2 and 4 bay. That's how I was doing my math. So I just wanted to film some of the unboxing here. I don't have a good perch for this phone. Right now I'm perching it on a yogurt container, which is probably a bad idea. Seems to be holding. So here's the box. I don't really have a real reason to unbox it, other than just wanted to talk a little bit about this thing. This one's not the fancy one, so you have to kind of screw everything in yourself, which is fine. It's like $300 cheaper than the other ones that have all the fancy thumb screws, but I don't really care about that stuff. I also don't care about the performance of it, so this one's a little bit slower as well. Oh shit, it actually looks pretty good. Yeah, that's a good idea. I actually thought it was gonna look a lot shittier, but it's got this kind of nice, kind of glossy bottom to it. The black feels really nice. It looks really bad in the photos. I thought it was gonna be pretty cheap, but this looks pretty cool. On the back, it's pretty basic. Like I said, it's not the fancy one, so it only has a couple of the USB and a Ethernet cable and power. And that's about it. This guy slides down. Oh shit, this thing comes right off. What? That's cool. And then, looks like it's got these hard drive trays here. Plastic little trays. They just plug into the little slots in there. Again, it's not like you can't hot swap the drives. You have to turn the thing off, and that's okay. It's not super fast, but it has 4 drives, and I think I paid like $360 as opposed to $600 or $700 for the ones that are, you know, a little nicer looking, a little bit faster, and have like the trays that you can like take the drives in and out while it's running. But that's, I'm willing to save a few bucks because all I need it for is like adding photos to, moving files back and forth. I don't care about any kind of movie transcoding. So I'm gonna put the drives in and get it fired up. But I'm gonna pause this for now. This drive is a Western Digital 4 terabyte red drive. It's not a super fast one, but you can see that it's made for NASes. And I was originally gonna buy slightly cheaper drives, but I read a little bit more about it, which you should always do, and found out that the reason these are actual NAS drives and the other ones aren't is because they're extra well balanced. Because they're gonna run with a whole bunch of different drives, and if you have too many drives and they're a little bit off, they can cause weird vibrations, which causes the drives to not last as long and could even cause them to crash. Instead of like $120, they were $140. So I just paid a little bit of extra money for that, and I think it'll be worth it. I've got these guys set up. They're in the sleds. Slide them in. They fit nice. This guy. Fits nice. I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all you got to do. Just gonna put the cover back on here. Okay, so the last piece of this little video is going to be getting it all plugged in. I'm actually cheating a bit because I have it all plugged in, but I'm just going to show you that. So this is our kind of office setup. It's not the best setup. There's a mountain bike in it, but you can see the drives and the NAS right here. That's the router, and that's the ISP gateway. It was pretty straightforward to set up. It's going to be a little bit hard for me to get in, but hopefully this is not great. So actually, this was helpful. So I ended up picking up one of these after the fact because I needed 3 plugs and it wouldn't fit into the single outlet. So I picked up one of these with a surge protector so it wouldn't like fry anything
It doesn't have a battery backup. I didn't want like a huge backup. If I had it under a desk, that would be a little bit different. But a couple of things that were really useful. One is this, and the other thing is I bought on Amazon for like $1.50 each these little short Ethernet cables that cleans up the back area here. So I highly recommend that. Amazon Basics has them, so you can pick those things up for just a few bucks. Other than that, as far as setup goes, it was pretty simple. So the hardest part actually is taking this, whatever your ISP gives you, and turning it into the bridge mode, which basically turns off all the Wi-Fi and all that and just has it strictly as a router, so that your actual router can do the Wi-Fi stuff. And the reason I wanted that was not so much for the NAS, but just I didn't trust the ISP hardware to be managing my network for privacy reasons, but also I just want to have more control over the network itself. And so that was the most complicated part. And then all I needed to do from there was just connect up from the internet signal to the router, just the way you normally would. And then the first port on the router, I don't know if it actually needs to be the first or it could be any of them. There's 4 on here. To the NAS. You can see, hopefully you can see right there somewhere. Where's my finger? Oh God. That's not gonna be good. Anyway, it's connected to the NAS. And then I just turned on the NAS, and that was the only thing that needed to happen. And for the next video, I'll talk about setting up the software, but that's all that it took to plug everything in, get all the drives set up. And I gotta say, it was pretty straightforward. And it was actually, when you see how the software works, it's actually pretty easy to get going with it too. So, but I'll leave that for another video. I'll stop this one here. Cool, so that's it. All in all, pretty happy, pretty impressed by how simple that whole process was. So hopefully that was helpful for you and helps you make the call on whatever you're thinking about. Cool.